Hi. Okay, so my final presentation, I decided to talk about Glee, which is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. And I apologize for any noises or sounds that might be outside because I'm recording this and right now, like on the countryside. So there might be, maybe animal noises or car noises. So I'm apologizing for that beforehand. Okay, so let's start. First of all, the basic info about the show. The show was produced by Ryan Murphy, Ian Brennan, and the original idea was from Ian. Ryan Murphy just got on the project after Ian had the whole idea kind of planned. The pilot episode was aired on May 19th of 2009, and the show lasted from 2009 to 2015. The show surrounded around the Glee Club, which is the choir of the school William McKinley High School, and usually the people that participate in this Glee Club are the outcasts and people that don't really fit in the popular groups. Till one day the quarterback and the cheerleaders at school, which were like the most popular people in the school, they join, and the Glee Club starts to shake things up in the school, and they try to change things that they were, so you know those stereotypes and stuff would be ended. Losers was like their trademark, I guess, like even like on posters or promotional photos, you could see them doing like the L shape on their forehead, because even though they were losers, it was kind of like a thing to be proud for them, and it really as a bad thing. Now moving on to the main characters. There are a lot of main characters and side characters, so I've got to shrink everything up. So it could be not such a long presentation. First of all, I have Rachel Berry, who was played by Leah Michelle. Rachel Berry was a character, like, I think the story kind of rolled around her in some ways. And she was really talented, and she was really egotistic. And I think sometimes she was so selfish that a lot of people thought she was annoying and arrogant, which she was sometimes. But I think sometimes her character is misunderstood because her egotistic side, her selfish side, also comes from the thing that she never really got. Things like she was never popular, so finally her being good at something, she wanted to be like the best, and she wanted everything for her. So you can kind of see both sides. The next main character is Finn Hudson, who was played by Carter Monteith, who died in 2013, July 13th of 2013. Finn Hudson was the most popular guy in school. He was the quarterback who dated the head cheerleader, and he did some stuff that are messed up, and you kind of go through his storyline. I wouldn't say he's a really complex character. I would say he's like a simple guy, actually. You don't see much of like layers of character in him as much as you see in other characters. Quinn was the head cheerleader of the school, and she was the mean girl who, wanted to be the most popular girl, and she didn't want to anyone to take her spot, and she would do anything to keep it. Um, the plot, I think, really starts from her, not from the other two. I mean, she was the Christian girl who would, always go to church and, talk about God. But actually, she did some pretty messed up things. She cheated. She did something that, some people wouldn't consider right, as well as like the plot of her being pregnant was really shocking for some people and really made this story kind of begin. She was played by Diana Agron. Next we have Puck, who was played by Mark Saley, and he was like, I think the second most popular guy in school. He was what you would call the fuck boy. This is not the best term I could use, but there's another term in Japanese who this term is tsundere, which is a person that you can see really tough and like not really aggressive, but someone who seems to not care about stuff on the outside, but his insides are really soft, and I think that's the thing about Puck. Like in the beginning, you could see him just, as a bad boy who would fool around and, not think about stuff. But as the story goes and the character grows as well, we can see that he was actually, someone who was really lost and someone who was actually, caring instead of this bad person that he was portrayed as. Next we have Kurt Hummel. In this story, I think he was really such a representation image. He was like the gay guy of the school. He was, I think, the only one who was openly gay, and he was such a strong character. I think there were times that you could really see him struggle with discovering himself and trying to, make his family accept him and his friends. But you would also always see him with his head high and not afraid to show who he was. I think Kurt Hummel and Quinn are like really strong characters in a way that they've been through a lot, and I think they handle what they went through really well. Kurt Hummel was played by Chris Colfer, who nowadays, besides actor, he's also a writer. He wrote a lot of books, and he got really famous by some children's book that I'm not gonna remember the name right now. Next we have Mercedes Jones, who was played by Amber Riley. He was such a great representation for black women, and that person who would not stay on those stereotypes that women should have. Like, she always took up for herself, and she always knew who she was, and she always thought who she was perfect, even though some people try to put her down and tell her that she was wrong. She always did a great job to keep true to herself. Her representation, I think, was really important, and you can really see like struggles of black people through her character, and I think she was really important for a lot of young women. Next we have Sylvester, who is like the villain of the show. She's the cheerleader coach, and she does a great job trying to defeat the Glee Club. They're like enemies. I think she's one of the most complex characters I've seen, like in TV shows in general. And in the beginning, you hate her, you think she's like a horrible person, but in the end, you just learn that she's a bit crazy, but also real soft in some ways, and she went through a lot. I mean, along with Kurt and Quinn, I also think that She's one of the strongest characters, and we can really see her grow. Like from the beginning, we hate her, but in the end, we learn to love her. Okay, sorry, my friend's mom just passed. Uh, Sylvester was played by Jane Lynch, and Jane Lynch won a good amount of awards for her role of Sylvester. And I think this role was really important for her in some ways to get recognition. Next on we have the side characters. In the middle you can see Quinn that I just talked about being the main character. And the blonde one is Brittany S. Pierce, who kind of played the role of the dumb blonde. And a lot of times she would be part of the comedy and the funny part because she would, just say something stupid and you would laugh. She didn't really protagonize a lot of things, like a lot of episodes, as the other side characters. She was more like the dancer of the group, and also Santana's girlfriend. She was played by Heather Morris. She's a great dancer. She also was, before Glee, she was a Beyonce back dancer. And if you want, you can search on Google and you will find clips of her during those shows. The other side, we have Santana Lopez. She was the Latina girl, the really strong Latina girl who was not afraid to speak her mind and sometimes would get in trouble for it. Sometimes she would start fights because she was really like aggressive and stuff. In the beginning, you see her just as like a mean person, but throughout the seasons as well, like I think this show is really about growth, and you can really see that with the characters. Like Santana is my favorite character, and I think it's because I've learned to love her and understand her throughout the seasons and why she was always so angry and mean. And a lot of that comes from her lack of acceptance towards herself and others. She was played by Naya Rivera, who just died like a week ago. Her body was found on the lake, but I'll get more into that later. Next we have Blaine Anderson. Blaine and Santana, they started to get more protagonism and more like main parts during the season 2 and 3. And then on, they kind of became main characters, but as they were not planned from the beginning to be main characters, I decided to put them on this category. Ben Anderson was a guy from private school, and he really helped Kurt to accept himself and show himself to the world and his true colors. I think overall, like, he didn't have that much of protagonism, but he was really important for the main characters. He was played by Darren Criss. Next we have Artie Andrews, who was played by Kevin McHale. They're simply what they call like the original members who were like the first ones to audition getting the choir like club, and he's one of them. But like even though he was like one of the original members, he didn't have much protagonism. Like he was more like the guy in the wheelchair, and I think they could have explored this way more than they did. Or they didn't have much protagonism and stuff. Next we have Tina Coin Chang, who was the Asian girl, and in the beginning she had problems speaking in public and she was really shy, and through the choir she really learned how special she was and how she should not be afraid of people in like just life in general. She didn't have much of protagonism like in season 1, 2, and 3. I think she kind of got more protagonism during season 4, which is not a lot of, which is the season that not a lot of fans like. Uh, Her character was a like really side character, and she was played by Jenna Ushkovitz. Now we have fun facts about the show. So basically, Glee was supposed to be a 3 sequence movie. So the show initially was planned to be a movie about Ian Brennan's, one of the producers, life during high school. But when Ryan Murphy bought the idea, he saw that was a movie and he thought that being a TV show would be way more successful than if it was a movie, because I think if it was a movie, people would link it a lot to High School Musical, that was such a hit. And I think they wanted kind of like to grow themselves apart from that. The role of Kurt Hummel initially didn't exist. Chris called for audition to be Finn Hudson actually, but in the auditions they saw that Chris Colfer had so much potential, and he was so unique that they thought that they had to make character just for him. So basically, Kurt Hummel was made for Chris Colfer because it didn't even exist before he auditioned. And a little like fun fact for me, like might not be interesting for others, but for me it is that the day that the pilot aired, 19 May of 2009 was actually my 6th-year birthday, and it was really cool to know that because I didn't knew that too recently when I went to search. And since it's my favorite show, I kind of like felt like a connection. I don't know, but like it just made like more important to me in some ways. So yeah, that's like a fun fact for me. That's and the curse. Like there's a rumor and a theory that the fans created that there's a curse between the cast. Usually the people that worked on Glee, the cast says, the roles. There are some people that say that they're cursed because they always say that something bad happens to them, like Carmen Teef died because of overdose. Mark Salem was going to jail because of childhood pornography, and then he killed himself. And Naya just drowned on the Lake Pier in California like a week ago. So people say that like bad things happen to the cast of Glee. And I mean, even other people like Liam Shell, Jenna Ushkovitz, like people say that really bad things happen to them because of their the show. I don't really believe in it, but I think it's fun, to theorize about this kind of stuff. And now I'm gonna talk a bit about Corey, and I and Mark. I think like they were such important characters, and I see that they were like really close. I mean, Naya dated Mark for a while, and then Corey and I they were so close friends. They were so close as friends, and see them going away like dying was really hard for the fans, and I think they really left not really a statement, but like a mark inside of the fans, and it's really sad to see them go. But I also think that they left a good legacy. Like they were really important in people's lives, and they changed a lot of lives as well. So I think like they did a good job. And more about the show, Glee actually received lots and lots of awards like Emmys, Golden Globes. I think the show was really popular because of like it was really inclusive, and people could actually relate to the characters. Like you could always look at someone in the Glee and find someone that you could relate to, being like their personalities or their struggles, because the show not only showed them going through high school and having to deal with school graduation, but also like personal problems like childhood pregnancy, discovering themselves as people, and just going through sometimes a lot. So I think the show really got popular because of it and its diversity, which wasn't something common in 2000s. Like, we didn't see that much diversity in the show as we saw in shows as we saw in Glee. I think the show really brought diversity to the public, which was something really new to that time, and I think also that also made it really really famous. So that's it. That's my presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I tried to not make something real long. I tried to like squish it as much as I could. So that's it. Bye.